Hi everyone, this is Stella Regidori and today I'm going to present the budget for the year 2022 of the World Awareness Children Museum, as well as the grant budget for the Touba Foundation for the project COVID and Me at the international level. Let's start with the budget for the year 2022. We can say that the year 2020 has been characterized by a year of change and disruption due to the COVID pandemic. Then the year 2021 has been defined as a year of uncertainty due to the different type of regulation that has been implemented and that impacted the activities of the museum. In the year 2022, we can budgeting pre-pandemic levels in each budget lines, as well as since it is considered the year of the recovery, and we can start a path toward the normality. For this reason, we can say that the budget 2022 follow a conservative approach, but at the same time with an optimistic perspective. In order to identify the budget the budget for the following year, two different steps has been adopted. First of all, the annual budget for the year has been identified by analyzing the trend that were followed in the previous 3-year budget, so 2019, 2020, and 2021. And also by adjusting the value, analyzing the actuals that has been recorded from the period January to October 2020. Once the annual values has been defined, they have been distributed across the year, following the average distribution of the budget line in the previous 3 years. This can be observed in the budget, and first of all, there has been the determination of the absolute number for the year 2022, and then following the different average value for the previous 3 years, and then these total values has been distributed across the entire year. Main change in the budget can be identified at the budget line of individual contribution and support, since it has registered an increase from 5% to more than 7%. The reason is that in the actual values, the budget, the individual contribution has been higher than expected, than budgeted during the 2020. For this reason, it can be inferred that the museum can rely more on individual contribution. At the same time, a slight decrease in government and business grant and government and business grant has been identified in order to prevent, in order to react to the government economic downturns due to the COVID pandemics. Then the total admission has been budgeted following the previous year, the pre-pandemic levels, as well as the revenue, the fundraising event revenue. There has been registered a slightly increased compared to the previous level. As far as the expenses is concerned, the main change can be registered in the utilities, since an increase, a 1.1% increase has been identified as a result of the COVID pandemic. Following this budget, the museum will have the following net income: $10,717. And most importantly, the composition of the revenues has followed the pre-pandemic level. Indeed, the revenues are characterized mainly by acquired income, similar level as the year 2019 and 2020, and as well as the income has slightly decreased, but fundraising event following the previous year pandemic level. Another important concept is characterized by the contingency plan. If the budget is not followed, then contingency plan should be adopted. In this case, quarterly contingency plan are evaluated. And the first one is adopted at the end of March 2022. In this case, in case the budget is not followed, the museum should rely more on fundraising events. Since it is at the beginning of the year, this can still be adjusted since the event usually happen in the second half of the year. In case of the budget, it is not followed at the end of June 2022, fundraising event cannot longer be changed or implemented, and the museum should rely more on businesses, foundations, and donation grants, as well as individual grants. Then, at the end of September 22, in case there is no following of the budget lines, it is important to rely more on earlier appeal letters. Appeal letters are usually sent in November and then money are collected in December. In this case, they can be sent in early October with a reminder in November in order to collect earlier the money. If at the end of the year, the budgeted as resulted has not been followed, more structural changes should be adopted. The budget of the museum is characterized by revenues that are mainly collected in the last part of the year, while expenses are mainly distributed throughout the entire period. As a result, a more equal distribution of the revenue and the expenses should be adopted, and this can be adopted in two different ways. The first one is a more equal redistribution of the individual contribution over the year and not just concentrating in the last 3 months. The second adoption is a more equal redistribution of the events over the years. So in case the budget will not be followed, more structural change should be identified. The second budget that is analyzed is the grant budget for the project Touba Family Foundation, in order to adopt the second phase of the COVID-19 NME project. This project will share the same objective as the first phase. So the purpose is understanding how the children perceived and experienced the COVID pandemic, but in this case will be implemented at the international level and not at the US level. So the main difference is that 7 countries are involved, international countries. In this case, 7 kits will be delivered directly to the schools and no longer stipends will be given to the teachers. And also a magazine will be printed with all the images of the hard works that has been sent to the museum. In order to analyze this, the budgeted has been determined. The budgeted has been divided into expenses and income, and mainly the expenses has been characterized by personnel, project expenses, and operating expenses. Main differences should be analyzed in the printing that has taken into account the printing of more pages, because one magazine is composed by more pages compared to the previous one. Shipping and postage that takes into consideration both the shipping cost to send the kit to the different type of schools, and they are evaluated based on an average cost, as well as the amount, as well as the shipping cost for the different schools to send their artworks to the museum. Then the kit to schools has been estimated. The composition of the kit is characterized by pastel, pencils, poster paints, paint brushes, paper, crayons, and erasers. The following table presents the estimation of cost for each kit. And then it is assumed to be sent seven kids to 7 different schools. A last important difference that should be identified in the budget in this grant budget is characterized by translation services. In this case, the services, the magazine should be translated in the different languages. For European languages, and also for the European languages, and also for India and Canada and Brazil, the translation is relied on volunteers operating within the museum, while it should be accounted a translation services from English to Mongolian and Mongolia to English in order to guarantee accessibility of the magazine. The following budget has been characterized by this total amount of the expenses that are covered by 3 different types of revenues. The first one is the revenues from the Touba Foundation, and then from corporate and individual contribution for the following amount. I would like to thank you for your attention.